positivity. Where she got the title, I have no idea. But Barbara's the Keenan Distinguished Professor of Psychology at the University of North Carolina, is going to talk about what happens in our brain and body during positivity and how that relates to caring behavior.
Your Holiness, it's a great honor to have your presence and participation here today. Thank you. And I want to thank my host and Emily for inviting me to be part of this symposium. You may remember that the theoretical framework from which I work comes out of evolutionary psychology, and I call it the broaden and build theory of positive emotions, and it has two proposals. That the first is a momentary effect of positive emotion states like love, gratitude, joy, connections to compassion. In the moment, these emotions expand and broaden people's awareness, allowing them to see the big picture and see interconnection with others. The second proposal of the theory is that over time, these moments of broadened awareness add up and build enduring resources of the person, useful traits like mindfulness, social connections, physical health. And it's in testing this second aspect of the theory that got me involved in testing the effects of meditation. So I became very interested in loving kindness meditation when I first learned of it, because I was interested in testing what would happen as people, in a way, increase their daily diet of positive emotions of love and concern and compassion, and how would that change people. And so we've undertaken a number of randomized controlled trials in workplace settings with novice practitioners, people interested in learning to meditate to reduce stress, which is often how it might be presented in the workplace context. And then we did intensive assessments of our participants at the start of the study, again 3 months later, and then every day, virtually every day in between, they answered a few short questions about how much they meditated that day and what their emotions were. And our first randomized controlled trial was published in 2008 in a paper that we titled "Open Hearts Build Lives," to be able to convey how people were changed with this practice. Our second project is currently in preparation. We're looking more at the physical heart. Your Holiness, you may recall this, that my research more recently has been focused on the vagus nerve, which is one of the cranial nerves that emerges from deep within our brainstem and connects our brains to our hearts, among other, it makes other stops along. And the vagus nerve is especially responsible for slowing our hearts, kind of keeping our sort of naturally high human heart rates down-regulated. The fight-or-flight response is what would kick our hearts and our heart rate and blood pressure into high gear. The vagus nerve has been more connected with a calm and connect response, a soothing response on the heart. And the conditioning or the strength of this vagus nerve can be measured in terms of what's called vagal tone, like muscle tone. Higher vagal tone is better, and it is represented by a very subtle arrhythmia in heart rate, such that our heart rates slow down a bit when we exhale and speed up a bit when we inhale. It's this entrainment between breathing and heart rate. And higher levels of this vagal tone have been connected to better regulation of bodily symptoms. In particular, there's better glucose metabolism when people have higher vagal tone, better regulation of inflammation. And so the vagal tone, high vagal tone, has been linked to better health in terms of lower incidence of diabetes and cardiovascular disease. At a psychological level, higher vagal tone has been linked to the better ability to regulate our attention, better ability to regulate our emotions, and better ability to regulate our social behavior, too. And so, in both the physical health and psychological health domains, there are strong connections between this aspect of the vagus nerve. When I tell people about vagal tone, people are often interested in whether they have high vagal tone, because there are all these good aspects related to it. And the very hopeful discovery we've made is that it doesn't matter if you start out with high or low vagal tone. With loving kindness meditation, people can raise and improve their vagal tone, just like we can improve muscle tone with physical training. We can improve vagal tone with emotional training. And I didn't say much about our loving kindness meditation, but it was very similar to the compassion meditation that Richie described in terms of its focus on self plus others and extending to all humans. So with just 6 weeks of training in novices, we see changes in resting vagal tone. This is not measured while people are meditating. This is their so it was a shift in their vagal tone and their habitual state of rest. Now, this is a new take on our data that's different than I was able to present in May. Another thing we found more generally in our studies is that there's a reciprocal relationship between between vagal tone and increases in people's warm and loving connections with others in daily life. We find that people who started our study with higher levels of vagal tone showed more dramatic increases in their reports of warm and loving connections with others in daily life. That's represented by the arrow on the left, that this cardiovascular measure predicted feelings of love and closeness in daily life. But we also found the reciprocal relationship, that people who showed greater increases in warm, open, loving connections with people in daily life showed the biggest changes in vagal tone over time. So there's a cycle here. There's a phrase used in psychology a lot, a vicious cycle or a downward spiral. Here we have an upward spiral or a virtuous cycle where changes in our physical hearts are supporting changes in our social and emotional connections with others in daily life. So we can, from this and related work, this is just a quick slide to show that from this and related work, what we conclude is that positive emotions, these warm and compassionate feelings we have towards others, seem to be the active ingredient within this, the effectiveness of loving kindness meditation that will build cardiovascular resources, energize these upward spirals, and provide support for the broad in the middle theory. So one thing that I'd like to point to is the directions that I'd like to go in and pose a question to you, Your Holiness, is that it seems clear that momentary states of love and compassion can echo powerfully through communities and whole cultures and in their outward expression. But what we're seeing here is that the inward expression of love and compassion echo powerfully through people's minds and bodies. It's as if I feel like the picture that's emerging from the science here is that in a way, our bodies were designed for love, in that the more we love, the healthier we become, the more flourishing at a physical level. And I'm wondering if I sense that's also true at a spiritual level in terms of people's wisdom. And my question for you, Your Holiness, is from a Buddhist psychology perspective, how do these small moments of love and compassion, it's a warm and open heart, add up? How are they viewed as adding up over time to create wisdom, to create spiritual advancement? How is that understood in Buddhist psychology, the pathway from love and compassion to wisdom?
一个为典型的修理主持人。Brings inner strength that creates a calm mind, less fear, less anxiety. So that provides the proper utilization of our intelligence. Through that ways of connection, should be done solution.
That's the way experiences how experiences like compassion, love, and kindness are connected to wisdom. But otherwise, it's very difficult to say that there is a direct causal connection by creating this space. There is, however, the arrow of relationships seems to go from the other side, as a result of greater awakening intelligence and understanding. That can have a direct impact upon one's compassion. In fact, the situation is more complex than it seems, because compassion is understood to be kind of mental processes that operate primarily in the modality of kind of aspiration, whereas wisdom and more cognitive, mental processes engage through a different route. So the relationship is more complex.